Trees, we know, are perennial plants, and they are the champion of perennial plants, because a perennial plant is just a plant that comes back year after year. But trees come back for hundreds of years. In fact, there are some trees in California, the bristlecone pine trees, that have been around for 5,000 years. They were around when pharaohs were building pyramids. So they are perennial plants, and plants mean that they need carbon dioxide, sunlight, and water. And they have no problem with the sunlight because they're growing out here in the sun. Sunlight is all around them. They have no problem with carbon dioxide because they get that out of the air. Carbon dioxide, as you know, we have a lot of that in our air these days. But water is a little bit of a difficult problem for trees. We drink water through our mouth, and gravity pulls it down into our stomach, and then our blood system moves it around our body, and we are 70% water. We didn't have a problem with it. But trees need water also. But they don't drink from the top, they drink from the bottom. They bring water in from their roots and have to move it to the tops of the trees. But they don't have a heart to pump it around. Let's find out how trees work. This is a great place to take a look at the roots of a tree. We can see the extensive root system here. This is a deciduous tree that blew over in a strong wind, probably because it was asymmetrical. And most of the tree was growing towards the light side over here. So when the wind blew, it just toppled over. The other thing is that 50% of these roots only grow within 6 inches of the depth of the soil. And so it doesn't give it a lot of stabilization. The other thing it does, though, is it grows out under the canopy and spreads out to 2 to 3 times the size of the canopy. So if the canopy is here, the roots could be out here. But this is not where the water comes in. The water comes into tiny little root hairs that grow out of the ends of these branches. And that's important. This is just wood. Okay, so these tiny root hairs bring the water into the tree, but now the water has to get all the way up to the leaves. And inside the tree are millions of tiny tubes that scientists call xylem. And inside these tiny tubes, the water is brought up to all the leaves in the tree. Xylem cells are not living cells, but there is a thin layer of cells in the tree. In fact, it's only 1 cell level thick, called the cambium. And the cambium is what makes these xylem cells. So there's a layer of xylem cells, millions of them, that bring the water up to the leaves. And inside the xylems, deeper into the tree, inside the xylem cells, is the heartwood. And these are all dead xylem cells that no longer conduct water. So this water comes in, up the tree, and reaches to every single leaf, branch, and twig on the tree. So how exactly does the water get up the xylem to the top of the tree? There are 2 forces at work here. One is called adhesion, and the other is cohesion. Water molecules are very affectionate. They like to stick to things. Water molecules love to stick to each other, and that's called cohesion. They also love to stick to other things even more, and that's called adhesion. Let's take a look. Well, here's an activity that you can try at home that illustrates cohesion, adhesion, and capillary action. All you need is a stalk of celery, some food dye, and a little glass of water. So all you have to do is put a couple of drops of the food dye in the water, and then put in the celery, mix it up a little bit. Now, if cohesion and adhesion work, the red dye should find its way up into the small tubes of the celery and bring it all the way up to the top of the celery. This is something that we'll probably have to come back to and look at later. In fact, I'm going to put all 3 of these celery stalks in here like this, and we'll come back, we'll time it, and we'll come back and see what it looks like, see how long it takes. So our cohesion, adhesion, capillary action experiment with the celery took a little bit longer than I thought. We're actually 1 day later than when I put it in yesterday afternoon. Now it's Wednesday morning, and you can see that the leaves are finally turning red. So it took a little bit longer. If you want a demonstration that goes a little quicker, you can use, let me take this out, to see how the celery absorbed this red water. But a quicker demonstration is just with a paper towel. Of course, it's not as dramatic as celery, which is a plant, but this will demonstrate the capillary action as the water, as the paper towel soaks up the liquid. It'll actually move right up, and as I'm talking, we can take a look at it, and then I'll pull it out. But what really happens inside the tree is there's cohesion, there's adhesion, there's capillary action, but the main thing that gets the water all the way up to the leaves in the highest trees is cohesion, and that's one water molecule linked to another water molecule. So as one molecule of water transpires out of the leaf, it pulls the next one up. It's almost like a chain of water molecules, and as one transpires out of the leaf, the next one is pulled up, and that's how it, one connecting chain. If the chain is broken, then the water might not reach those leaves. And to demonstrate the cohesion, a quick experiment that you can do if you have an eyedropper and a penny is just to see how many drops of water you can get onto the penny. I did it. Guess how many I did? Guess how many drops I got on the penny? See how many you can have, and then take a look at the next slide. So inside the tree, the cambium layer is making every year a new layer of xylem cells that bring the water up from the roots. And outside the cambium, it's making a layer of phloem cells. Phloem cells are different than xylem cells. They're soft and they're squishy, and they're meant to bring food that the leaves make down to feed the tree. They're soft and squishy, and that's what we also call inner bark, because we know what the outer bark looks like. Those phloem cells, as the tree grows out, will squish together and eventually harden and form the outside bark of the tree. And this is what protects the tree. This is more dead material, okay? It's not alive. In fact, most of the tree is not alive, all right? And this part of the tree only grows wider. It never grows up. It's like Peter Pan. It won't grow up. So if you carve your initials in the tree right here, don't do that. Don't ever carve your initials in a tree, because you're breaking through the inside of the tree and you could harm the tree. But if you did, you came back in 20 years, the tree would be wider, but your initials would be in the exact same spot, because this tree is not going to grow up from here. The only place it grows longer is at the very tips of the branches. Okay, so the last layer of the tree is the outer bark, okay? And the outer bark protects the tree from insects like carpenter ants and termites, protects it from fungus, protects it from grazing mammals when the trees are young. And as the tree grows, the bark actually changes. So you'll see that it's different on a younger tree than it is on an older tree. Some trees have chemicals in their bark that keep insects out. So the trees need this for protection. Some people say it's like our skin, but it's not really, because the bark is dead. Our skin is alive, so if we cut it, it'll heal. But the bark on the tree will not. Sometimes it'll grow over, but it will never heal because it's already dead. 99% of the tree is dead. Only the cambium and the tips of the branches are alive. A fun thing to do with the bark is to do a bark rubbing. And I actually did one. Here, I just taped this onto the tree, like this, and I took my trusty crayon and I rubbed it over the tree like this. And I got an idea of what this bark looks like on this particular tree. Hopefully, knowing a little bit more about trees has increased your wonder of these amazing plants. And I hope you're getting outside. I hope you're writing in your journal. Today, we talked about measuring the circumference of the tree. Get out and measure the circumference of the trees in your yard or in your neighborhood or in your park. And put it all down in your journal. Write this stuff down. Things are changing every day in nature. Get outside. Have fun. And another thing you can do is write a poem or a haiku. You'll see on the next slide what a haiku is, and I even wrote one about trees. So get outside, have fun, write in your journal. Thank you.